We'll be looking at how to do a Mars inspired base today. I usually start off by trimming the edge of the base with a sharp knife. Just cut off any bits of flashing to tidy the sides up. Next I'll take this little piece of wood to which I've glued on some sandpaper, and I'll use that to smooth down any imperfections around the edge so that it's all nice and flat. It doesn't take very long to do this, and it ensures you don't get any horrible marks on the side of your base when you come to paint the rim, so it's definitely worth taking the time to do. Mix up a bit of green stuff and we're going to roll it into a little sausage. Place a couple of these on the base and try and vary their length so that they're not exactly the same. Now I'm going to fix these in place with some super glue. You don't really need to glue them as the green stuff tends to act like its own glue after a while, but it kind of makes it easier to keep them in place while you're sculpting them, so I like to glue them down anyway just to get a bit more stability. Alright, so once those are glued on, I use a rubber sculpting tool to flatten out the edges. The effect we're going for here is to make little undulations on the base, as if some sand has been blown into like a little drift. So just keep working the edge with your sculpting tool until it's nicely flattened out onto the base. Once the green stuff is dried, just put some PVA glue on there and push it around with an old brush until you cover the whole surface. Now we're going to use this sand. It's a mix of various different grades, and I've added some ripped up bits of cork to simulate stones or small rocks. So just go ahead and pour that onto the base. You can see here that the cork pieces have clumped together a bit on one side, but that's totally fine. It's actually going to look pretty cool once we've painted it. Now I don't want quite so many rocks here, so I'm just going to use a brush to pull some of them off so that it's not quite so crowded. Once you're happy with the look, just leave it to dry and then we're going to spray it with some black primer. I used Games Workshop Chaos Black. Alright, so once you've done that, you're going to take some white and you're going to spray it down onto the base at about a 60-degree angle, spraying from one side only. You can see that once we've finished that, it's going to be bright on one side and dark on the other. Because the paint only hits one side of the grain, it gives you this really nice pre-shading effect. Take some Games Workshop Scrag Brown and add some water to it to make a glaze. You want the consistency of the paint to be really quite thin. You can see on the palette here that it's about the same sort of consistency as a wash. Load up your brush and begin to paint the base, starting at the dark side. You can see I'm using a pretty big brush for this. That's so I can get quite a lot of the glaze on the base. You really want to ladle it on there, so a smaller brush is going to be a bit of a hindrance. Once this dries, you're going to get a really nice effect because the black and white undercoat will show through underneath, giving you an instant shade and highlight. So just keep drawing the paint across the base until you get close to the other side. Alright, so wash your brush off and we'll make another glaze, this time with Games Workshop Tau Light Ochre. Again, you can see just how thin that is on the palette there. Now we're going to do the same thing again, but starting at the other side. And once we get close to the edge of the Scrag Brown, we'll begin to draw the two colours together. So I'm just pulling the ochre into the brown and working the brush back and forth, letting the two colours mix on the surface. Do that across the width of the base, pulling those two colours together. It really is like magic how easily you can create a transition using this technique. So once that dries, you can see that it gives you a really awesome effect. The pre-shading we did with the black and white really helps to give the base depth without messing about with lots of washes and dry brushing. As an optional extra here, we can add some more contrast by taking some Army Painter Strong Tone and just putting some along the back edge here. Then we'll just give the brush a wash and with some water in the bristles we'll just feather it out over the base. So you're basically placing the brush into the edge of the wash and then drawing it backwards. As you sweep the brush back and forth, the wash mixes with the water in the bristles, thinning it down. So as you draw it backwards away from the wash, it gets thinner and thinner till all there is water, which allows you to get this nice subtle fade effect. Now this can take a while to dry, but you can speed that up with a hairdryer. To finish off, we'll just paint the rim with some black. So there's really nothing all that difficult here, but you can see that it gives you a really striking final result. Here's one I did earlier with a model attached. Alright guys, that's all for me, so let me know what you thought by leaving a comment down below. You can help the channel grow by liking and sharing the video on Twitter or Facebook. Subscribe for more content if you're new, and I'll see you all next time. Thanks again, bye for now.
Matt Damon.